Delaware State and North Carolina Central head coaches deliver powerful statements, while Commissioner Stills gives us everything we need and more at MEAC Media Day. Oh yeah, it's Locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked on HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked on HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor. Thank you for going on this journey with me, making Locked on HBCU your first listen of the day, every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. Let's continue this ride, and follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives, and you can see it right here at the bottom of your screen if you're watching on YouTube. Now, I love these preseason polls. I absolutely love these preseason polls, and over the last 2 weeks, if you were not aware that I love these preseason polls, you now are fully aware how much I appreciate, how much I enjoy going through these. And I understand that we've done them for four different conferences. We've looked at the North Carolina A&T standing. We looked at the Tennessee State standing. So preseason polls and preseason teams have been quite prevalent on this show over the last 2 weeks as we've kind of gone through media day coverages, right? I don't think the payoff, or I don't think that you might completely understand why I love these things. But content like this is exactly why. When I look at Delaware State head coach, who was absolutely furious, heated at the fact that he had the fourth best team in the MEAC. No, let me read to you these rankings, right? So you have South Carolina State, who was predicted to repeat as champions by a pretty good margin. They had 8 of the first place votes, and they also had 124 total points compared to North Carolina Central, who was number 2 with 92 points. Now the rest of the list falls out as Norfolk State at 3, Delaware State as 4, as we mentioned earlier. Then you have Howard and Morgan State. When I tell you Coach Milstead was heated when it came to this, right? And that's why I love it, because these 2 minutes of content that it gives you, I like the reaction. I like the prediction aspect and all of it. Most times the reaction is kind of private, but not this time. See, Tiffany Green asked Coach Milstead a question and mentioned the preseason polls in it. I don't believe that was the focus of the question. I genuinely don't. I could be wrong. I don't remember the complete direction, but I don't think that she was trying to focus on the preseason polls. Coach heard that and he went off. That was the only thing he heard. He let her finish the question, of course, real respectful. But when he started the question, or when he started his answer, he said no sternly. The sternness, and sternness isn't a word, I don't believe. If it is, I spelled it wrong in my notes. But sternness of the no that Coach Milstead delivered. I said, I already know what time this is. I already know. I was like, oh, that was pretty strong. He wasn't coming to play around. He was upset. He had the question, how do we have the fourth best team when we're returning the best defense in the conference? Riddle me that, Batman. I just want to know, how do we come in returning all of these players, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that were really good? How do we come into that same situation and we're predicted to be the fourth best team in the conference? Now, fourth best team in the conference might sound good, but he emphasized it's out of 6. So a 4 might be okay in some conferences. In the MEAC, where there's only 6 teams, you're looking at a bottom half ball club. And I completely get his frustration. Now, if you want to say South Carolina State and North Carolina Central are still going to be 1 and 2 like they were last year, okay, maybe. But you're looking at us, we're number 3. Why did Norfolk jump us? Norfolk is losing their star quarterback. I'm just trying to get into the head of Delaware State, right? I get it. They say defense wins championships, and you're returning all of these players. So I understand why you feel like, man, you disrespected me. Yeah, I understand why you feel like this is ridiculous for you to believe that we're going to take a step back. And you could tell the frustration. You could tell that he felt disrespected while he was speaking. Now, in other questions that were answered during that segment, I believe that he kind of pointed a finger at why people would feel this way. And it's the offense. Nobody's disrespecting your defense. It's the offense that people do not feel is going to stack up this year. Clearly, right? Now, he praised the defense right there. He didn't say much about the offense, but they started asking questions about the offense. How do you get more victories was the actual question. And with that answer, Coach Milstead said maturity. I had a lot of young players last year. Now, with young players come young mistakes, and experience creates certain mistakes that you feel like once you start having more games underneath your belt, they'll go away, right? He's trusting that. He's trusting the fact of what he's seen. What I think we have to remember is that Coach Milstead has seen something that other coaches haven't seen. And I don't mean he's been around a long time. I don't mean that, he just has an eye for things better than other coaches. I mean that these other coaches aren't watching you practice. They don't fully know the development that you're seeing on an everyday basis in practice, allegedly, right? Because I say allegedly because it's going to be up to Delaware State to prove that the coach doesn't just have blind faith because he's the coach and that this frustration is warranted. See, if Delaware State comes out next year and they aren't all that good or they're making the same type of mistakes on the offensive side of the ball, well, now you kind of are proving them right. It's a difference between blind faith and just faith. Faith comes from something you've seen a lot of times. You can trust in it. You have something, I don't want to say tangible, because a lot of times there's things that you can't actually physically hold, but faith stems from something. Blind faith is just, I'm the coach of this team. They'll be better because they're older, right? I haven't actually seen the development. Because the con about young players is you're going to have young mistakes. The pro of having young players is that you get to roll over the roster and they get more experience. And now you'll have a core that stays together. He did acknowledge that the quarterback was inconsistent last year after Jay Walker, one of the people from ESPN, spoke on it. He did say that. And he said, Jay Walker said, hey, man, some of them throws by the quarterback were great. Some of them were, And Coach did acknowledge that's the truth. But he has more leadership. He has more games underneath his belt. I think you're trusting in a lot of experience and a lot of development that these other coaches literally have not seen. We'll see if that's the case. And it'll be up to Delaware State to prove it to be the case. But we see that the MEAC coaches do not respect the offense of Delaware State. They just lost Sevion Wilkinson. They lost Trei Gross. Those are two big-time subtractions from that team. We'll see if they're wrong, but that is the reason I believe that they do not have Delaware State at number 3, but they have them at number 4. And also, I don't know why Isaiah Guthrie wasn't there. I did mention it, but I want to keep that same energy when talking about why Kamari Jackson was there. I can't speak on Guthrie's situation, but I will say that Kamari Jackson looked great up there. He had a velvet dress shirt. I didn't even know they had velvet dress shirts. Maybe my fashion knowledge is just very slim, or that's just exclusive like it is in my brain, but a freaking velvet dress shirt is nice. And when he spoke with conviction and 100% looked like he belonged up there. So if there was a reason that Guthrie wasn't available or they just didn't want him to be there, I completely understand. And I actually like the decision to have Kamari Jackson as a representative of your defense because he was absolutely great on stage. And going forward, I want to talk about somebody else who was pretty great on stage. And that's Trei Oliver. He had a lot of things to say about North Carolina Central and also the MEAC as a whole. So we'll talk about that and more going forward on Locked On HBCU. But first, let me tell you about LinkedIn Jobs. And it's for all my small business owners. I know you want to get your customers together, or excuse me, your employees together. I know that you want to have the right people in your business that fit what you want. We all have something that we want, right? The Locked On Network has something that they desire in their host. You have that same thing for your small business. Go to LinkedIn Job and create a free job post using the purple hashtag hiring frame, right? 810 million people go on LinkedIn.com. So you are going to have your pick of who you want. And it's free, easy. You're going to have some screening questions to be able to weed out the people who don't really fit your mold. It is by far the place to be. And that's why small businesses rank them number 1. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates that you want to talk to faster. And did you know that nearly 40 million job seekers go on LinkedIn every week? So go ahead, go to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free, and terms and conditions do apply. We keep on rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU and continue our MEAC Media Day coverage, talking about some comments that Trei Oliver made that I thought were quite powerful. But first, I want to say thank you. We keep on rolling on today's episode of Locked on HBCU, and I appreciate you for making us part of your daily routine and your first listen of the day every day. I want to talk about Trei Oliver because he had a chip on his shoulder that was huge, right? I feel like everybody at the MEAC Media Day could have went around and took a bite off of the chip on his shoulder because it was truly that big, and it was shown in the sense of conference pride. And then also I felt like it was shown in just school pride. So it was on two levels in a sense. And I want to start off with the conference pride side of it. I expected this comment from Howard head coach. I expected that question to be delivered to the Howard head coach. Neither one of those things came. He didn't answer it because it wasn't asked to him. I didn't hear it, at least on that big stage. You know, they did say they spoke to him and he uttered some of the same sentiments that Oliver did, but I didn't hear it from Howard on that big stage. That is what it is. It came from North Carolina Central. I only say that to, call back to on Friday's episode where I did say that I kind of expected the state of the MEAC to be addressed by Howard, or I wanted it to be addressed by Howard because of their impact on the conversation around the MEAC during the offseason. It didn't happen, whatever. It's North Carolina Central head coach. He says it. And he said that he spoke to Commissioner Stills and she had a plan that he really believed in. Now, I understand that Oliver is not a decision maker. I understand that as the head coach of the football team, it only gives you so much power when deciding where North Carolina Central is going to play their sports at. But if the decision makers share the same mind as Coach Oliver, then you'll have a buy-in to a plan, which is kind of like a long-term commitment. And that's great for the conference. That's great for everybody. So I thought that was phenomenal. And he also mentioned how the MEAC SWAC Challenge has went the way of the MEAC quite a bit. All of these things I thought were absolutely fantastic and great publicity for the MEAC. And mind you, this is MEAC Media Day. Now, when it came to the school, this was the one that really got me because there was a little bit of an attitude behind what he said. And that's why I say he really felt inspired. That's why I really felt like he felt motivated. See, Jay Walker, he asked, I think it was Davius Richard first, and then it was Codrington, right? And he asked, North Carolina Central is, and you're supposed to fill in the blank. You're supposed to fill in the blank right there. And Richard, great. That's our motto. It's an acronym. I wish he would have said what the acronym stood for, but he said it's an acronym. It's something we say every day. Codrington followed suit, said, you know what? I love that answer. Basically, he looked like, yeah, that's a good answer. I'm going to roll with that. Great. We say it every day. So now you get to the head coach. Mind you, this is media day. This is media day where I'm expecting all cookie cutter answers. I'm not really expecting sound bites for real. Like, Deion Sanders is a soundbite, so I understand I'm going to get sound bites from him. But for most coaches, you probably don't get that PC cookie cutter answer. Kind of playing it safe. We're just looking forward to week one. Every game matters. Stuff like that, right? One step at a time. We're trying to get better. That cookie cutter stuff. And Jay Walker actually poked fun at some of the people who did it. Like, nah, don't give me that cliche answer. But I especially expect that from the coach. So let's go back to the situation I was referencing, right? Player one is great. That's our motto. We say it every day. North Carolina Central is great. Player two, North Carolina Central is great. That's a great answer. That's what we do. And now you go to the coach who you assume is the person directing these players to answer this way, to answer this cookie cutter way. And what did he say? I'm going to let them be humble. North Carolina Central is ready. Oh, okay. Basically, I'm dropping the humble, and it was an attitude behind it, not anger, just an attitude behind it. You got to remember, this is a team that was this close to winning the conference last year. They're second. They came in prepared to finish, or they're projected to finish second again. And this isn't a disrespect. We're not just going to continue threads, and every time you're not where you think you'll be, it's disrespect. No, you finished second in the conference last year. That's enough to put a chip on your shoulder. I'm just acknowledging that they're supposed to finish second once again this year. It's not a disrespect thing. It's simply, I was this close to getting what I wanted to get, and I probably feel like I would have won. Just mind you, I probably feel like I would have won that Celebration Bowl as well, and I didn't get it done. Being as close as I was is what is my motivation. So North Carolina Central is ready. When I hear that, it means we're ready to take over South Carolina State. That's what that means to me. That's what I hear. That's what I take from it. And I love the attitude. I love the inspired nature. It's a chip on his shoulder to prove that we are the top dog. Probably not to anybody else but themselves, to be honest. And I appreciate that. I love it. In the conference, you're talking about the MEAC is still kicking. We're still putting out good product. I love our brand of football. It's still good content that's coming out of the MEAC. We don't need to break down or dissolve or anything. No, we're good right here. I appreciated that. I think that what he did, I expected from Howard, and I don't say that again to chastise Howard. Once again, I don't believe they were even asked the question. And wherever the information came from, it was more about the publicity that the MEAC could get from that statement, and it still happened. But he had that said, the MEAC still kicking, don't doubt us. And then also when it came to North Carolina Central, telling the players, y'all can stay humble. We ready. That's an attitude that may not have been reflected by the players' answers, but I guarantee you that the players on the stage and then also all the players who are at home getting ready for the season, they share that same mindset, that same attitude that really I'm looking in the camera. South Carolina State, I'm ready. We were number 2 last year. You were number 1 this year. It's predicted to be the same way. North Carolina Central is great. That's great. Whatever. North Carolina Central is ready. That's the attitude, the intensity that I tried to portray towards the camera when speaking on YouTube, if you're seeing it, is the same attitude that I believe Trei Oliver is giving to his team. Even if those 2 players up there did not say the same thing that he did. Now, when we're talking about conference pride, a lot of that goes back to Commissioner Stills. And I thought she was phenomenal on stage. And I want to talk about everything that she delivered because she gave me everything I needed and more. We'll talk about that as we continue with Locked On HBCU. But first, let me tell you about BetOnline, because if you're trying to put your money down on anything, put your money down at a place that is going to actually educate you on what you're betting on. Anybody can go put $100 down on a game, but BetOnline wants to make sure that you are educated and you know what you're betting on. By being educated, you have a better chance of winning. That's one of the best things about BetOnline, is they're actually giving you the tools necessary for you to come out with more money. Let's end it right there. Let's end it right there. But they are also so versatile. You know, you have NFL, NBA futures, and then you also have the MLB, NHL, combat sports. Y'all know I love me some combat sports. I binged the heck out of the Ultimate Fighter, right? And then also your esports. They have everything you could possibly want to put money down on, and there's only one place to do it. That's BetOnline. In other words, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. We wrap up today's episode of Locked On HBCU by reviewing Sonya Steele's comments at MEAC Media Day. She looked phenomenal. She was absolutely comfortable. You could tell with every word she was saying, they were hanging on it. It didn't matter what she was talking about. She was in full command, whether she was talking about the vitality of the MEAC and things important like that, or the HBCU Superconference. Both of them we're going to get to. Or if she was talking about DoorDash or the Oculus virtual reality game that she just bought. They were hanging on every word that she said. You would almost think that she was the host because she was that in command of attention. I loved it. I thought it was great. And it's my first time seeing her on a stage like this with all the cameras and everything. And I thought she was absolutely fantastic and very comfortable, right? But let's get into what she actually said. Now, one of the things that has been a big comment, a big storyline, is the lifespan of the MEAC. People thinking it's gonna fold. That's been something that was major. I said I wanted to talk about. I thought it needed to be a State of the Union. She didn't completely address it, but she did say she spent the first 7 months of her tenure dispelling rumors. And by dispelling rumors, she's saying not only is Howard here, they were never leaving. That wasn't even the case. So there was no actual truth to that situation. That's what she's telling us. Now, 7 months dispelling rumors is crazy, but basically saying I had to go through and say not damage control of making sure these teams want to stay, but damage control of everybody saying that they don't and clearing this up. But I'm glad she did it right here. And I'm pretty done talking about it. I will say this. There is a good amount of trust, I believe, because she feels as if they want to expand, but they want to do it methodically, and they believe they can be slow in nature. To have that luxury of being slow and being picky with who you're going to bring into the conference, you have to trust that those 6 teams that are playing football have no plans on leaving. Because one goes, and I always say nothing's greater than a 5. But 5 ain't really what you want to be in a conference, as far as NCAA goes. It's not really where you want to be. It's not a good number. It's a bad number. You know what I mean? It's the only time you'll ever hear me say that. I can't even say it again. Listen, so that trust has to be there. And I'm going to assume that it is. We're not going to say that she's putting blind faith, something that we talked about with Coach Milstead at Delaware State. No, I believe that there's real conversations. Everybody said that they have talked to Commissioner Stills and they have believed in her plan. They believe in what she's doing. At least that's the front that they're putting on publicly. We'll see if that's the truth. I believe that Sonia Stills is moving as if that is the truth, that if she does truly believe that everybody is buying in to the plan that she is delivering. I hope that's the case. And she does too, because she's saying, look, y'all got to drop this idea of a super conference. It's not happening. It should not happen. Not only is it not happening because we're healthy. Let's be very clear. The idea of a super conference indirectly says the MEAC is weak, the MEAC is crumbling, and they need to go into the SWAC. That's what it says. I mean, I don't know if that's directly what they're saying attached to it, but if the MEAC was perceived as a healthy conference, nobody's saying that the SEC and the Big Ten need to combine to create a super conference. Nobody has ever said that because they're looked at as both two prosperous conferences. Now, when you're looking at HBCU conferences, MEAC has a certain view of them. You know what I mean? People have a certain view of them, I should say. And I think that's the reason people want them to go into the SWAC and create it. I don't know what it'd be called. It probably wouldn't be called the SWAC anymore. But Commissioner says no. First off, look at what we've done in the MEAC SWAC Challenge and also the Celebration Bowl. Those are the big time conference versus conference games, and they've been dominant in that. I'm a SWAC guy through and through, so it does not make me happy to say that they've dominated us. If you keep it real, Texas Southern guy. Y'all know I'm SWAC through and through. You know? So when I look at that history that she's bringing up, first off, we can compete. That's number one. We can compete with the SWAC. So let's not act like we're just some, dead in the water type of conference as far as performance goes. But then also it's more value. When you listen to what Commissioner Stills is saying, she's telling you there's more value in having two Division I HBCU conferences as opposed to one. See, when you look at the MEAC SWAC Challenge, well, what is it now? Just another SWAC conference game. If you're looking at the Celebration Bowl, that has to be altered. I think they'll still figure out a way to keep that up, but you have to figure it out regardless. So that's also another challenge. Those are big time moments for HBCUs that are now going to have to leave if you dissolve the actual MEAC. And then another question is, who's leaving? Who's not going to be staying? Because somebody has to go. I don't think that the SWAC is going to be the conference that pushes the envelope to hit 18. I just don't think they are going to be, right? So now somebody would have to leave. You could say Howard's going to go because I think Howard would stay out. I think they would just go somewhere else. I mean, they're not depreciating. I think that they still have their same amount of value. And I think that Howard as a whole could truly just go to another conference. I don't think the CAA is going to certainly turn their back in 2 years if Howard says they want to come. They'll probably find somebody else to go with Howard. But these things happen in twos. So it's not like, oh, now we don't have to make the tough decision. No, now you have to say who's going to leave. What if you want to bring Tennessee State over? What if you want to bring Tuskegee up? What if these are teams that are better for you as far as travel goes? Now what's going to happen to these MEAC teams, plural, that do not make the cut as far as who's going to make this power conference, this super conference? I believe that there is more value. I love the Celebration Bowl. I love the I love the Celebration Bowl. I know I always come here and talk about the playoffs, but I do love the Celebration Bowl. And then I also love the SWAC MEAC Challenge. I think that these big time events around HBCUs are phenomenal. Let's keep them alive. Killing off the MEAC and making a power conference, it kind of hurts that, right? So this has been our MEAC Media Day recap. I'm excited. This was great. I personally think that it was better than my SWAC recap. I haven't listened to it back or anything, but just as it's been flowing, I feel like it was better. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But if you can let me know what you think, that means you made us your first listen of the day, both of those times. So I truly do appreciate you for that. Thank you. For your second listen of the day, make sure you're checking out Locked on ACC, Locked on SEC, Locked on Big 12, and all of our other conference shows. They are absolutely killing it over there. And they're not even talking about joining with each other. So make sure you're checking them out. And in the meantime, in between time, you can check me on Twitter at South Exclusives. And until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care. Stay blessed. Peace.